Good morning. On the third Sunday before Advent, the readings are Luke 20, 27 to 38 and Job 19, 23 to 27a. At this season of remembrance, we have been reminded of the lives of the saints in church history, of those we knew personally and loved in this world and see no more. And we shall have the remembrance of those who fell in armed combat for the sake of their country. All this remembering will bring to mind different things about people we have known and those we didn't know, but who made an impact in the course of their lives for others. We are grateful for what they did and for being there in a special way. And the ones we love personally are with us still in our memories. Honoring the dead has got nothing to do with not being able to let go. We know that we have to let go one way or another, and it's not easy. But we don't need to do it in our own strength, and we do have hope in what we have learned from God. In today's Gospel reading, Jesus responds to some questions about the resurrection. Those who do not believe in the resurrection, the Sadducees, were trying to trap him with some trick questions. They were the landed gentry, an elite class which operated the temple and wielded their authority as religious leaders from there. The question they put before Jesus seeks to mock the idea of the resurrection by reflecting the practice of levirate marriage as described in the law. This practice says that if a man has a brother who leaves a widow but no children, he is to marry that widow and have children for his brother. In the quite absurd scenario they pose, they suggest that a man had 6 brothers and they each married his widow in turn and died, but none had children with her. So, at the final day, when the widow dies, in the resurrection, whose wife will she be? Jesus is not put out or caught off balance, or whatever the Sadducees had hoped would happen. Instead, he just tells them what the resurrection of the dead actually means. Jesus makes 2 points that are basic to it. 1, the resurrection life is different from the present natural one. There will be no more death, and so sexual relations will be irrelevant, and the need to continue a family line will be obsolete. The ones who are raised in the resurrection will be equal to angels. Not that they will become angels literally, as common folk belief would say, but they will live in an immortal state. This understanding is not about a bodily resurrection, but about the raised being in a different body, unlike the present one. As Jesus says, those who are considered worthy of a place in that age and in the resurrection from the dead neither marry nor are given in marriage. Indeed, they cannot die any more, because they are like angels and children of God, being children of the resurrection. Our bodies will have to be different and adjusted for the new world in which death will be no more. 2. Jesus refers to the Exodus, a book that the Sadducees saw as authoritative and that teaches the resurrection when it describes God as the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. That means that the patriarchs are all alive to God, even if they have not yet been raised from the dead. They are alive with God and in his presence while waiting for the final resurrection. The Sadducees, who proclaimed the teaching of Moses, at the same time denied what the book of Exodus said on this point. It is interesting to note that the Pharisees, the other group of religious authority, believed it, and in this sense they were on Jesus' side. Jesus' own spectacular resurrection on Easter Day was to make another point, that there was hope and a future for those who believed in him. This would give his followers an enormous boost to their faith, and their trust in Jesus as God's Son was growing with it. In the book of Job, we find another piece of Old Testament evidence when Job declares, "I know that my Redeemer lives, and that at the last he will stand upon the earth, and after my skin has been thus destroyed, then in my flesh I shall see God." Although he is speaking in another context, he had understood the words in Exodus and knew that after his death he would see God with his own eyes. Jesus was taking the resurrection to a higher level, and those who heard and saw would see God's final blow to the power of death. And that is good news to all. It may be much to take in or to get our heads around, but it's the way our God works. Life through death for all who believe. Amen.